You are standing in a lane off Billingsgate in London, in the first week of November, 1348, the week the Black Death arrives. The lane is barely wider than your outstretched arms. The rat at your feet is not running. It is lying still in the gutter. It is warm. You do not know what this means. Nobody does yet. But by Thursday there will be no priest left at St. Botolph's to hear your confession. We will get to that. Could you survive the streets of London during the 1348 plague? The answer will have nothing to do with your strength, your courage, or your intelligence. It will have everything to do with what you cannot know. London in November 1348 is a city of 50 to 80,000 people, crammed into roughly a square mile east of the Fleet. The lanes in Billingsgate are 6 to 10 feet wide, and the upper stories of the timber-framed houses lean over until the buildings opposite are close enough to touch. The gutter running down the center carries household waste, kitchen scraps, the contents of your chamber pot. City ordinances require it. Reach out your hand and brush the plaster of the house across the lane. This is how close every person in your ward lives to every other person. This is the air you all breathe. You are a craftsman of middling means. You know what you know. You know that bad air causes sickness. Every physician in England agrees on this, and the evidence seems obvious. The wards near the tanneries smell worst and have the most fever. The better streets, the ones further from the slaughterhouses, are healthier. This is not ignorance. This is the best theory the 14th century has, and right now, it is going to kill you. The Bristol grain ships arrived at the Thames docks 3 weeks ago. You know this because you bought your grain from the market at Cheapside, the way you always do. The man at the far grain stall had fresh stock from Bristol, dark, heavy sacking that smelled of river water and hold timber. You bought it. It was cheap. What you could not smell through the sacking is the reason you are here. You did not know that Bristol had been dying since June. You could not have known. There is no system of notification. There is no word for what is happening there. What you know is that the grain was cheap, the stall was open, and you needed to eat. This is how the plague reaches your lane. Not through the air, not through bad smells, through a sack of grain that arrived at a Thameside dock on a ship whose hold was shared with animals, cargo, and things too small to see. Through a market you visit every week because it is the cheapest market in London. The first person in your lane to show symptoms is the chandler 2 doors down. Within 2 days he has a swelling under his arm, the size of a hen's egg, hot to the touch and black at the edges. He is running a fever that makes him shake. He is in extraordinary pain. You can hear him through the wall at night. You and your neighbors make the correct decision. You do not go to him. You stay inside. You keep your shutters closed. You pray. This is right. You cannot know that the danger is already inside your walls, inside the thatch above your head, inside the spaces between the timber and the plaster, in the dark, warm places where animals nest. The rats in your building have been dying for a week. You have not noticed because dead rats in the walls are not unusual. There is no version of this week in which you would have noticed. Remember the still, warm rat in the gutter this morning. That is what a dying colony looks like from the outside. It looks like nothing at all. By the 3rd day, you smell something different in the lane outside. Not the usual smell. Something heavier, sweetish, wrong. You understand the logic of miasma perfectly. Bad air kills. The air here has turned. The sensible, educated response is to move to a district with better air. You begin to plan it. This is the decision that will kill you faster than anything else you could do. The route to the cleaner districts, the streets of Cheapside, the wider lanes toward West Cheap, passes directly through the market, through the crowds, through the stalls, through the people who arrive from Bristol and the people who bought grain from the people who arrived from Bristol. The pneumonic form of this disease, the one you can catch by breathing near someone who has it, kills within 24 to 48 hours. A person can look perfectly healthy at dawn and be coughing blood by noon. There is no visible sign. There is no warning. The person standing next to you in the market, the one handing you your change with a steady hand, may be in their final hours. You walk to Cheapside because the air is better there. What you have done is walk into the highest density transmission zone in London. On the 5th day, you hear them before you see them. Through the shutter, before first light, the rhythmic crack of leather on flesh and a low singing. The flagellants are moving through the ward again. You know what they look like. Groups of men in white cloaks, sometimes dozens, sometimes hundreds, flogging themselves with leather straps as they process through the streets. You have watched them from your doorway. The crowds that gather to watch them press together in the narrow lanes, shoulder to shoulder, breath mingling in the cold morning air. The theology is coherent and widely shared. Collective human sinfulness called down this pestilence, and collective self-mortification can lift it. This is not a fringe belief. This is a rational response from within the framework that has explained every catastrophe for 300 years. But what would it mean if all those gathered people were breathing each other's air? Last time the flagellants came through your lane, 3 people from the ward followed them into the city. You have not seen any of those 3 people since. You assumed they left London. You were possibly correct about that. What you could not know is that the procession, with its singing and its spectators pressing close to watch, is the most efficient mnemonic transmission event happening anywhere in London right now. You do not follow them. You stay inside. It is the right decision, and you have arrived at it for entirely the wrong reasons. On the 6th day, you need the church, not for spiritual comfort, for practical necessity. Your neighbor in the lane, the one whose voice you could hear through the wall 3 days ago, has gone quiet. Someone needs to be buried. Someone needs rites. You walk to St. Botolph's. The door is open. The smell inside is the smell of East Smithfield in August, a sweetish thickness that coats the back of your throat. Father Thomas has not been seen in 4 days. The altar boy who normally lights the candles has not been seen in 2. The church is empty except for the smell and the sound of a dog somewhere in the nave that should not be there. You are standing in the doorway of a building that has lost its entire function. The institution whose purpose is to manage dying, to give it shape, to administer last rites, to organize burial, to provide the framework inside which death has meaning, is gone. Not moved, not postponed, gone. Ralph of Shrewsbury, the Bishop of Bath and Wells, has already written his letter. You do not know this yet. He has sent word to his diocese that if no priest can be found, a dying person may confess their sins to a layman, or even, if no man is available, to a woman. This is not a metaphor. This is the bishop of the medieval Catholic Church formally suspending the sacramental requirement, because there are not enough priests left alive in England to administer last rites to everyone who is dying. The institution you trusted to manage death is the first institution to dissolve. By the end of 18 months, London will have lost somewhere between 40 and 60% of its population. Not 1 in 20, not 1 in 10. Somewhere between 2 and 3 people out of every 5 you know will be dead. The mass burial grounds at East Smithfield and West Smithfield will receive hundreds of bodies a week. Archaeologists in 1986 will uncover more than 600 plague skeletons from East Smithfield alone, stacked in careful rows by people who are trying, in the absence of every institutional framework, to do this with some dignity. The world that existed before the first week of November 1348 will not come back. Not the population, not the labor market, not the relationship between the church and its people, not the confidence in the miasma theory that guided every wrong decision you made this week. All of it ends here. Could you have survived? Possibly. If you had stayed locked inside your house, let no one in, eaten only what you already had, and waited. But you needed to eat. You needed to work. You had a theological framework that told you the right response to collective catastrophe was collective action. You had a medical framework that pointed you directly into the transmission pathways. You had no concept that a warm, still rat in a gutter was the most dangerous thing you had ever stepped over. You made every correct decision, 1348. London gave you the tools to make. Every one of them was wrong. If you want to find out whether you would have survived the silent rules of the medieval monastery, the bells at 2 a.m., the cold that never leaves, the building you cannot by law ever leave, that episode is linked right there.